All right, guys, welcome to week 3. I'm excited about this week. We're going to have some fun lessons this week. I'm really excited. So we're going to start today with a mystery picture. So I was going to do this last week. I think I forgot. So I want you to look at this picture right here, and this is a super close-up picture of something. It's a vegetable or a part of a vegetable. So I want you to think, I don't know, it looks kind of like these big discs. You got to kind of see if you can think. So make a guess to what you think that is. We'll come back to it at the end of the lesson. So stick it out, and then you can see at the end of the lesson what it actually is. Okay? We are going to start really quick with a song. So today we're going to learn about parallel lines. And we're going to just watch a song first, and then we'll talk about it, because this is a good one. You guys will like it. All the Number Rock songs are good, so let's listen to this one.
Lines that are perpendicular on a rectangle's perimeter. Well, let's break it down even simpler. They make right angles in particular.
Parallel lines never meet. Intersecting lines make these. Perpendicular lines meet at 90 degrees. Put your hands in the air with me. Parallel, intersecting, perpendicular, they're rectangular.
Now let's talk about detecting if two lines are intersecting. It's the term that we select if at any point two lines connect.
Parallel lines never meet. Intersecting lines make these. Perpendicular lines meet at 90 degrees. Put your hands in the air with me. Parallel, intersecting, perpendicular, they're rectangular.
Do it with me on this part. We'll do the end. We'll do the robot part together.
When two lines will never touch, then you can tell that those two lines are parallel. Like these telephone wires up above the street. Parallel lines will never meet.
Parallel lines never meet. Intersecting lines make these. Perpendicular lines meet at 90 degrees. Put your hands in the
Okay, let's try it together. Ready?
Parallel, intersecting, perpendicular, they're rectangular.
Okay, you know I like those Number Rock songs. They're so good. So I'm going to always have these songs on our playlist, so you can go back and watch them anytime. So today we're really focusing on parallel lines. So if you want to start, go ahead and get your math notebook out. Hopefully you should have that. And we're going to write down some definitions. We kind of have a lot of definitions today, so just pause it and take your time. Take a break if you need to in between, because it's a little bit of writing, but we got this. So parallel lines. So we're going to write this down first. Parallel. Lines that are equal distant apart. Now, in the video, they said parallel lines never meet. So you have to think, if you have a line like this and a line like this, they're equal distance apart. And you just have to think, if they were going to go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, they would never touch, right? If this one went on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, it's not very straight. Not very straight. But they're like this. They're lines that are never going to, if this one was at an angle, if you had a line like this, you could say, well, if this line went on forever, it would touch, and then it would be intersecting. So these two lines would not be parallel. Parallel lines are equal distance apart, and they never touch. Okay, so if you drew them forever in any direction, they would never touch each other because they're equal distance apart. Okay? Okay, now quadrilateral, that one's really easy. We learned about that. It's any polygon that has 4 sides. So it can be like this, any polygon with 4 sides. It can be a square or a rectangle, right? So any polygon with 4 sides is a quadrilateral. Now, a trapezoid you might have learned about before. It's a quadrilateral, so it has 4 sides, but only one pair of the lines are parallel to each other. So normally it's going to look something like this. You have this line and this line that are parallel, and then these touch like this. Oh my goodness, I'm not good at straight lines. And these touch like this. But you have to think, this line right here and this line right here are not parallel, because if I was thinking, what if I just decided, oops, what do I need to do? What if I decided that I was going to draw this line forever, and it was going to go up forever, and this one was going to go up forever? Do you see how eventually they would touch right there, even though my drawing is really bad? So a trapezoid only has, I'm going to put a mouse in as we're doing this, one pair of parallel lines, and that is this one right here and this one right here are parallel, because if I drew them forever and ever and ever and ever, they would never touch, right? If I was drawing that accurately. So a trapezoid just has one pair of parallel sides. The other sides are not parallel. And you could have it like this too. You could have this side and this side were parallel, and then these two connect. You could have a trapezoid kind of going sideways, right? Okay, so that's a trapezoid, one pair of parallel sides. Now, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral with both sides are parallel. So a lot of the time you'll see it drawn kind of like this. These two sides are parallel, and these two sides are parallel. Because this side and this side, if they drew forever, they're equal distance apart, right? And the top and the bottom are equal distance apart. Now, they don't have to have right angles, but would a rectangle be a parallelogram? If I drew a rectangle like this, does that have two pair of parallel sides? Yeah, this top and this bottom are parallel, and this side are parallel. So a rectangle, it is a parallelogram, okay? Now, a rectangle, the only difference between a rectangle and a parallelogram is that a rectangle also has to have four right angles, right? We know that this angle and this angle, they're 90 degrees. They're perpendicular, right? We learned that in the song, perpendicular, they're rectangular. You love my singing. So, if you have a rectangle, you have two sets of parallel lines, and you have right angles in there. You have to have four of them. Now, if you look at this rect, that means right. That's like the Latin term for right. So it's a right angle. So it's a quadrilateral with four angles, four sides, and four right angles, and two sets of parallel sides. Okay, does that make sense? All right, we're going to do a few more definitions. Two more. The first one is rhombus. Now, this is a parallelogram, so we have to look over here. It's a parallelogram like this or like this. Has to have two sets of parallel sides. But it also, all the sides are equal length. So sometimes you'll see it look like this, and I'm going to try and draw these of equal length. It doesn't really look quite right. But all of these sides have to be the same length, and they have to have parallel. So these two sides have to be parallel, the top and the bottom have to be parallel, and all of those sides are the same length. So if I went like this, boom, 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 and I just draw one little line in there, that means that they're all the same length. Now, a square is actually a rhombus because I have four equal sides, right? But the only difference between a square and a rhombus is that a square has to have right angles in there, right? In a square, all the sides are equal. It's a parallelogram because all four sides are like these two are parallel and these two are parallel. And it has four right angles and four equal sides. So a square is a rhombus because it does have four equal sides. It also just has right angles. Okay, so we're going to watch another song that talks all about quadrilaterals because there's so many quadrilaterals, all of these different rules, and I think you'll like it. So you might want to watch it again later, but we're going to watch it together really fast. Camp Quadrilateral.
Parallelograms have two sets of parallel lines.
Okay, so I'm just going to rewind that and show you something really fast. So if these, do you see how these both have two little orange angles? That means that this line and this line are parallel, And that means that this line and this line are parallel because they're going to go on. They're equal distance apart. They never touch. And the top and the bottom are equal distance apart and they would never touch. Okay?
Trapezoids only have one set at a time. A rectangle has 4 right angles. A rhombus has 4 sides that are equal. Squares have 4 equal sides and 4 right angles. Quadrilaterals have 4 sides and 4 angles. Parallelograms, rhombuses, trapezoids, squares and rectangles. And if you add the angles inside each of these, there will be 360 degrees.
You don't need to know that yet.
Parallelograms have 2 sets of parallel lines. Trapezoids only have 1 set at a time. A rectangle has 4 right angles. A rhombus has 4 sides that are equal. Squares have 4 equal sides and 4 right angles. Quadrilaterals have 4 sides and 4 angles. Parallelograms, rhombuses, trapezoids, squares and rectangles. And if you add the angles inside each of these, there will be 360 degrees.
Okay, so if you want to review that, you can always go to our playlist and watch some of those videos. All right, I need you to go to your math book now that you have finished writing down your definitions. And let's open to page 851. 851. Okay? All right, you can pause the video, remember, anytime. All right, we are going to look at the very top. It says that parallel lines are equal distance apart. That means they can never touch. If they weren't equal distance apart, like right here, they'd be closer, and right here, they'd be far away. That means eventually they would touch, right? So parallel lines are equal distance apart, and they never touch. Now, example number 1 says the Eiffel Tower shown is in Paris, France. So this right here, the Eiffel Tower is in Paris. Describe whether any sides in the quadrilateral outlined in green are parallel. So here's our little quadrilateral right in here. Are there any parallel lines? Well, let's see. If I took this line and I kept drawing it up forever, and this one forever, would they eventually touch? They would, so they can't be parallel. What if I drew this one out forever and ever and ever, and this one out forever and ever and ever? Would they touch? No, because they're equal distance apart right there. So how many sides, the top and the what, are parallel? The bottom. So right here, you're going to write bottom. And a quadrilateral with just one pair of parallel sides, like this one on the top and the bottom, is called a trapezoid. So the quadrilateral outlined in green is a trapezoid. Okay, so you write bottom right there and trapezoid right here. Now it says some quadrilaterals have both pairs of opposite sides parallel. Those quadrilaterals are called parallelograms. They have the attributes shown in the table. So here's a parallelogram. Both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. The top and the bottom and the 2 sides are parallel to each other. Opposite sides have the same length. So this one has to be the same length as this one. And that one has to be the same length as that one. The 2 sides are the same and the top and the bottom are the same. And the opposite angles are the same size. So that's something that you would notice, that this angle is actually equal to this angle. They're the same size. And this angle is the same as this angle. You don't really get into that a lot this year, but that's good to know. And if you see that this has one line and that's one line, that means they're equal. And if that has 2 lines and that has 2 lines, it means the ones with 2 lines are the same. They're the same measurement, okay? All right, let's go ahead and go on to the next page. Now, we actually aren't going to measure this, but I just want you to try and eyeball it. So I'm going to let you, if you want to measure them, you can. You can measure all the sides with a centimeter ruler. I actually don't have the same book you have, so there's no way I can measure it, and they don't give me the measurements. So you can cross this part out if you want to. You don't have to measure it. But I want us to answer these questions right here. Which parallelograms have all sides equal in length? If you're just looking at these, Which two look like they have the same sides? All of them are equal. Well, this is a square, right? So we know that all of those sides are equal. And even though this figure 3 is like tipped and kind of squished, all of those sides are equal too. That's a rhombus. It can't be a square because it doesn't have any right angles, but that is a rhombus and those sides are equal. So that would be 2 and 3. Which parallelograms have 4 right angles? Well, they just give it to you. Anytime they show you these little pink squares, that means all of the angles are right angles. So which two? Yeah, this one and this one. So that one's going to be 1 and 2. Okay? Does that make sense? If you want to measure the sides so you can kind of see, and maybe that would be great if you want to measure figure number 3 and you can see that all of those sides are actually equal. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky to tell when it's squished sideways like that. Okay. Let's look at the bottom. And this says a rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 right angles. So we've got that right here. A rhombus is a parallelogram with 4 equal sides. This is a rhombus. A square actually is a rhombus as well. A square is a parallelogram with 4 right angles and 4 equal sides, right? So figure 1 is what? What would you call that? You'd call it a rectangle. It can't be a square because these two sides don't equal those two sides, right? And it can't be a rhombus because same thing, all of the sides are not the same length. Figure 2 is a rectangle, a rhombus, and a what? So it's a rectangle because it has 4 right angles. It's a rhombus because all of the sides are equal length. And what else is it? A square. Good, that's a square. And figure number 3 is a parallelogram, right? But if we're trying to be more specific, that one's going to be a rhombus. So 1 is a rectangle, 2 is a rectangle, a rhombus, and a square, and number 3 is a rhombus. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, so we need to describe 3 attributes that all 3 of these things, or that figures 1 and 2 have in common, not number 3. Okay. What's one attribute that they have in common? Yep, they both have 4 right angles. They also have 2 sets of parallel lines, right? The top and the bottom are parallel, and the 2 sides are parallel. What else? They have 2 sides that are equal in length. Like these 2 are equal in length, and these 2 are equal in length. And these 2, even though all 4 of these, they also have 2 sides that are equal in length. 2 pairs of sides, I guess you would say. So 4 right angles, opposite sides are parallel, and opposite sides are equal in length. Okay, I want you to go ahead and do pages 853 and 854. Those pages are going to be due. So I want you to pause the video, do those pages, and then you can come back here and correct it. Okay, and if you pause the video, do those 2 pages, come back and correct it. After you correct those pages, you're going to see what the mystery math picture is. Whoa. Okay, go ahead and pause it right here. Good job. All right, when we're looking at this page, let's look at all of the attributes that are described in each quadrilateral. So look at your page and let's see what you did. You should have that opposite sides are equal in length. How many are there? You have this pair and this pair. Both pairs have opposite sides that are in equal length, right? Opposite sides are parallel. Well, both pairs, these 2 are parallel and these 2 are parallel. How many right angles? 4. So this is classified as a rectangle. Now, if I was checking this off, I would probably have done it like this, right? Oops. I'd probably have done the check mark in there. Check mark in here and check mark in here. Okay. Now this one said opposite sides are equal length. Well, none of these sides are equal length, right? This side is not equal to this one, and that one is not equal to this one. So no pairs are equal length. Opposite sides are parallel. Are these 2 parallel? If I drew this one forever and just like do it forever and I drew this one forever, would they eventually cross? They would. They would intersect right here, right? So only this side and this side are parallel. So just 1 pair. Right angles, are there any right angles in here? No, because I don't see any little squares. There's nothing perpendicular going on in there. So 0. So it's called a trapezoid. Good job. Okay, Let's check all of the attributes of this one and see what we have. So look at your bucket and then tell me what you got. Okay, we have how many sides are equal length? All 4 sides are the same length because that is a rhombus, right? This is a rhombus. All 4 sides have to be the same size. Opposite sides are parallel, both. This is parallel to this, that's parallel to that, so we have both pairs are parallel. No right angles, because I would see something like this if there was, and it would be actually more like this, right? But there are none. So this is going to be a rhombus. This one, opposite sides are equal length. Well, this is equal to this one, and that's equal to this, to the bottom. All 4 sides aren't the same length, and there aren't any pairs that are not the same length. So we have to say this one and this one are the same, and this one and this one are the same. So both pairs have opposite sides of the same length. Opposite sides are parallel, both pairs. No right angles, so this is going to be a parallelogram. Okay, it's also a quadrilateral, but if you're being more specific, it's a parallelogram because all of these are quadrilaterals. All right, let's look at this. The oldest tennis tournament is played at Wimbledon in London. Describe the attributes of the shape of the tennis court and then classify it. Okay, tell me, what do you see in this tennis court? I see 2 sets of parallel lines. I see 4 right angles. So what would you call that? I would call that a rectangle as well. Right? Opposite sides are the same length and parallel. 4 right angles. It's a rectangle. Good job. Hillary bought an eraser like the one shown. Classify the quadrilateral formed by the sides of the eraser. So we're just looking at this front side. It looks like it's a little bit kind of tipped, so I don't see any right angles. All 4 sides are not the same length, so it can't be a rhombus. No right angles, can't be a rectangular square. What would you call that? Right, it has 2 sets of parallel lines, so that's going to be a parallelogram. Good. All right, if we're looking down here, Kayla is thinking about a quadrilateral. Both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. All 4 sides are the same length, and there are 4 right angles. Huh. Okay, so they all have to be the same length of sides, 4 right angles, and both sets are parallel. So I'm going to draw, if I get my writing tool out here. 1, I have to try and draw them all. Oh, that's a bad line. Better erase that thing right there. And if these are all right angles, what's that going to be? It's going to be a square. Good job. Perfect. Looks nice. Their square looks much nicer than mine. Okay, let's look at this last one. Circle the quadrilaterals that have all the attributes of a rectangle. Okay, so a rectangle just has 4 sides and 4 right angles. So a square is actually a rectangle. That would be considered a rectangle because it has 4 right angles. A trapezoid, does it have 4 right angles? Nope. Does a rhombus have 4 right angles? Nope. Does a parallelogram have 4 right angles? Nope. A rectangle kind of can be a rhombus, but I don't think they're going to count that one. Circle the quadrilaterals to have all the attributes of a parallelogram. Okay, well, a rectangle, does it have 2 sets of parallel lines? Does a rhombus have 2 sets of parallel lines? Does a trapezoid have 2 sets? No, it only has 1 set. But a square has 2 sets of parallel lines. So let's check it. Good. All right, way to go. Okay, go ahead and turn those in, and should we see what our picture is, our mystery picture? Let me find it. Okay, it's a vegetable. What was your guess? Anybody have a guess? It's the seeds in a bell pepper. So if you look at a bell pepper and you cut it open and you see these little tiny seeds in there, if you get them up really close, they look like that. Kind of crazy, huh? Okay, I hope that everything went well. Take your time and do lessons. Just take your time. You can do them every other day. We've got 3 lessons, and then we're going to have 1 Khan Academy lesson that I really want everybody to do this week. So we will check back in a little bit. Have a good day, guys.